Hey everyone. In this video I want to talk about one of the best pieces of life advice, which is if you don't like something, figure out what you can do about it, and if you can't do anything about it, then accept it and learn how to live with it. The reason why this is one of the best pieces of life advice out there is because it drills to the root of personal accountability and responsibility for your direction in life. This is everything because there are a lot of people out there who've kind of been raised to not take accountability for their life. And if you don't take accountability for your life, you're kind of at the whim of just pure chance. Like wherever you end up in life is going to be due to chance and also due to external things that usually you have the control over whether or not they stay in your life, like people determining your direction. And you really don't want that. You don't want your life to be left up to the way that the wind blows, because you only get one shot at this, right? Like, as far as we know, this is our one opportunity to experience life being a human being on planet Earth. So you better make the most of it. We don't know what comes after this. So just live as if this is your one opportunity at this. I don't care what you believe in, live as if this is all you get, because that's all we can prove. So there you go. You do not want to fall into mindset traps like playing the victim. And if you don't take accountability and responsibility for your life, you're probably going to play the victim at some point, because you're going to think that you don't have the autonomy to choose the direction of your life. And for the most part, you actually do. I do understand there are external factors out there that we can't quite control, like, for instance, government and what government dictates. If you live in North Korea, which, well, none of you do, because I don't think you'd be able to watch this video if you did, but the people who live there obviously can't really do much about their life direction because they're living in an oppressed state. So yeah, there are some times where external factors are so big that you can't overcome them. But for the most part, all of us who don't live in North Korea, we have autonomy over where we end up in life. We aren't facing these overwhelming obstacles that we can't push out of the way, like oppressive governments. We have the option to move somewhere else if we don't like where we live. We have the option to find a new job. We have the option to leave a bad relationship. We have the option to get away from toxic family members. The list goes on. We have autonomy to determine our direction in life for the most part. And even if money is an issue for you, that still doesn't quite mean that it's stopping you from living the life that you want to live, because there are things you can do to figure out or change your direction in life, even if with money being a limiting factor. For instance, you could, well, actually I've heard this quite often, you can move somewhere with like no money in your bank account. I've heard that story more times than I can count, and it always intrigues me because there are many brave people out there who have done just that. They didn't know what they wanted to do. They didn't have a job lined up, but they said, hey, you know what? I want to move somewhere else, somewhere that more appeals to my personality. So they did just that with no money in their pocket, and they ended up becoming successful over time. So we really have a lot of autonomy over where we end up in life. So if you don't like something, figure out what you can do about it. Remember, I use this quote quite a bit now, but there's a saying out there that you're not a tree, you're not stuck where you are, right? And that's true. Like, you don't need to stay in any situation in life that makes you unhappy or negatively affects your mental health on a consistent basis. Whether it's your job, your family, your significant other, the place you live, all of those things are within your control to escape from. If there are things that are holding you back, making you unhappy, you can do something about them. Now, here's the one big caveat, the one thing you can't escape. Some of you may know what's coming, but I'll let you try to guess real quick. Guess what it is? The one thing you can't escape. Yourself. So if you don't like who you are, if you aren't happy being on your own, then yeah, no matter where you go, you're not going to be happy, because the problem is yourself. But it's so long as you work on that, if you work on developing a better relationship to yourself, on being happy on your own, on being comfortable on your own, on accepting yourself as you are with all your flaws. I mean, all of us have them. If you work on loving yourself as you are, well, now that won't be an issue. Now you can go other places and you should be happier because you aren't going to be the limiting factor here. You won't be the bottleneck for your life. But it is important to work on that because a lot of people, they're not happy with who they are. So then they wonder why more money, a new great relationship, a new car, moving to a new place, a new job, they wonder why those things don't make them happy. Well, if you're not happy in your own skin, you could have everything in the world and it may give you some pleasure for brief periods of time, but that pleasure will be fleeting. It won't lead to happiness that actually lasts. So really work on developing a better relationship with yourself first and foremost. But after that, really nothing will be able to stop you in life, because once you get to that place where you truly have accountability and responsibility for your own life and you believe in that, you believe in your own autonomy, nothing will stop you. Because anytime an obstacle gets in your way, provided it's not a huge one like oppressive governments, but if anything that isn't an obstacle you can't get around gets in your way, you'll just think, there's a way around this stupid thing and I'll find it, whether it's by digging underneath it, by trying to find a way to climb over it, by trying to find a way to go around it, you'll find a way to not let that obstacle stop you. So this is why I believe this is one of the best pieces of life advice out there, to just, if you don't like something, figure out what you can do about it. And if you can't do anything about it, like in the state of, or for example, with like oppressive governments or things like that, then you just have to accept it for the time being, learn how to live with it until you can get out of that situation. Even though the North Korea example isn't quite the best, it still holds up because those people, even for living in that oppressive environment, they can actually escape from it. I do understand the odds are very much against that for the most part, especially because they don't even have a concept of the idea of freedom. That government is so oppressive, that word doesn't even exist in their language. Try thinking about a concept that you don't already know. You can't do it because you don't know it, like you won't think of it. So they don't have a word or an idea for freedom. They don't think in that way. So obviously it'd be very difficult for them to think about gaining their freedom, about trying to escape, but it still is an option for them, even though it's incredibly risky. But yeah, anyway, my whole point there is that even with overwhelming odds, overwhelming obstacles, there still is a chance for you to get out of those situations, to not let that thing hold you back anymore. But yeah, the odds will be low in some cases, but for the most part, many of us are not dealing with situations like a North Korean government, so just try not to buy into your excuses. We have a lot more autonomy than we realize. So there you go. That's pretty much all I wanted to talk about in this video, how I believe this kind of mindset of taking autonomy, accountability, responsibility for your life and not accepting things that you dislike, figuring out ways to rise above them, to get around them, to create the life that you desire. I believe it's one of the best ways to go through life because it'll make your life better. How the hell could you not live up to your potential when you have a mindset like that? So there you go. That's what I wanted to share with you today. But anyway, I truly hope you enjoyed this video, and if you like content like this, be sure to subscribe for more. Otherwise, the easiest way you can help me out is just to leave a like and a comment on the video for the algorithm, and I will see you guys in the next one. Arrivederci!